This is a reading for myself, Cindy Isabel Schulter. Also for the creator of the deck, you'll find insights and amazing information there for you too. So please enjoy. Note this is a Cindy CIS Investments and Arts production. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved. So how about we get started? I did another reading, or another attempt of a reading, and I have to wait till the internet is activated, otherwise I can't upload. But I haven't finished the reading, I just started it, and I wrote it down, and I'm about to tell you what I saw, what I felt, and basically give you my reading for myself. But there's also a reading for you, Goliath, as well. Okay then, bye. Okay, now I shuffled and I shuffled and I shuffled, and I stuck to those cards that jumped out. Or the last card I felt with a tingly sort of touch. It was the only one that had a bit of activation to it. And the first card I got was the Nine of Wands. Now, before I go into that, I have to read what I wrote at the start before I did my reading. Today I arrived home and needed the cards. I felt their calling and was stopped at my first attempt at reading. Then the NBN technician came and stopped the second attempt. He is still here at 10:03 a.m. I think it's 11 or 12 or something now. While here, I decided just to play and shuffle the cards while releasing it from the binds of the negative parasite, who is female in nature. Anyway, here is my answer. The Nine of Swords, the darkness before dawn. If I look at my past year with 3 beatings, car stolen twice, and homelessness, by spending my payout from car insurance in November, I found myself really homeless and too scared to go to friends, for I'd just been raped. Now the hire car I hired has been stolen also. So far, no closure on that, but the court case is closed with no convictions and an 18-month good behaviour bond. So with this, I continue to create with my art and start designing my own storytelling and tarot deck. To me, wands mean... Sorry, that'll be a headache. To me, wands mean creativity, spontaneous actions and reactions. It means utilizing creativity to rise above one's potential. Nine of Wands means completion. Does this mean it's the end of my dark period where others harmed me in such a way I felt like I deserved it, which is far from the truth? I look at the card and I see wands as a forest. Some are leaning, these ones I should get rid of, for they are no use to me, but in that there is a light beaming through the darkness, giving one hope that good things will prevail. I wonder what Goliath feels about it. He says it's persistence. I definitely have that in me, and have done that. Perseverance. Hang on, you're nearly there. Inner strength to continue. Nearly out of the woods. Stay strong. Hang on, you're nearly there. Inner strength to continue. Nearly out of the woods. Staying strong and rational. Sign of hope. Seeing it through. Stand firm and strong. Sitting in paths. Feeling knocked down all the time. Now that has never been so more true than my life. My whole fucking life. Lost, lack of direction. Well, I was lost for a very long time. I got a little bit of direction, but I'm just not sure where I'm going with it. Wandering in the same direction again and again. Finding inner strength within you. Well, a lot of people say I'm a strong woman, and now I'm realizing how much inner strength I've got after surviving the last year and a half. Finding inner strength within you, setbacks one after another. Again, that was last year. Paranoia, holding the fort. keeping yourself together by keeping yourself together by a thread, physical strength, and being overly guarded. This is my situation now. This is me. This is what describes where I've been. And knowing my life, I can't help but agree. Well, I could write more, but we'll stop there for now. The reason I stopped is I got a headache. This is the Nine of Wands, for those who don't know it. See the light gleaming through the trees, sending a ray of hope. The darkness is over, I tell myself. The light will begin to shine more every day. Not only that, perseverance and dedication, hard work and discipline is something that I need to compel myself to get back into, like I was, say, a year ago before all this shit happened. Anyway, the next card was the spilt regret. Oops. I can see how this card affects me and how it's present tense but moving towards past. There are 5 cups. 3 are spilt lying on the ground, while 1 hides in the background and the other cup half full with what looks like blood or red wine. I guess here the cards are telling me to let go of those emotions which I don't serve me well, and to be positive and don't regret the emotions, feelings, events and experiences in relationships of past. Take a leap forward and be free of this. 5 being freedom, I look at the cracked earth and seeing the spillage and saw while those times, people, etc. suit the earth purpose, they don't suit mine. I really got to let go of everything and heal. Healing can begin once regret is realized and move forward beyond. Now, what does Goliath have to say? Well, Goliath says loss, sadness, regret, focusing on the past, looking back in dismay, emotional confusion, feeling deprived of joy of something, having something taken away from you. Yep, lots. My kids, my car, my life. Acceptance of what is now, wishing you can change the past, imbalance, lost opportunities, letting go of hope, defeat, sorrow, breakdown. Yep, I had a breakdown. Wanting to turn back time, mistakes made. Yep, done that. Reflection, wishing away in what could have been, but will never come to pass now. Deep disappointment. This is so true. I felt all those the past year, let alone the last 6 months. I've lost my children and have to console myself that I love them more than anyone else in the world, but it wasn't enough. I wasn't enough for them, so in this I have to let go of my want to have them close by. I love my children, but now I have to move forward and hope they will come back to me one day, voluntarily, and want to know the real me, rather than the projected hurt and powerless person I became. Karma has to be involved here. For my parents, I also have to let go of, but more permanently. Not only are they close to death, but they are what led me to this dark, barren time in my life. I have to let go of the need of my car, my things that I lost, the me's that I lost, and have no regrets. Yes, I saw that in late December last year, and this only confirms it. So this is what's crossing me, but also this is what was crossing me, but now leaving my space and leaving my aura. And when I look at this and I see the red liquid, I can't help but think of blood and life force. Like you're spilling your emotions, you're spilling your life force, you're spilling your spirit with regret. You cannot regret life itself. You cannot regret your experiences. You certainly cannot forget what you've been through. And the more hurt you are, the more you remember. The trick is to really focus on the good things. And I've been trying to do that, but unfortunately more blood was spilled. And in that, I had to stand back and really examine what I'd done wrong, where I'd gone wrong, and what I'm going to do to fix it. And the only way I can fix my life with this card, is to no longer have any regrets about my children or who I am now. It is also basically telling me to go with that cup that I've got half filled, because you never know, the one at the back seems empty, and it is empty, and all the others are empty, but you still got a little bit of emotion left. After all these dark times that I've experienced, I've got a little bit of emotion left. I'm still in love, but I don't feel it anymore because I'm a broken arrow. I've been hurt too much. And in that, it's like I feel numb, and I feel like there is no emotion to me at the moment. But then I think about all the times I get upset, all the times I want to cry, all the times I get happy, and realize that maybe there's something worth saving after all. Maybe there's a chance for me to not cry over spilt milk. The next card I get I haven't written about because the NBN guy left and I rearranged my furniture. It was open plan living before, but now it's closed plan living. I mainly did it so I can look out the garden while I'm working and look at my artwork. I won't be able to see the ones behind me, but that's for the people on that side of the couch to see. But anyway, that's the reason why I didn't get to write about the next few cards. So I'm just going to read them. The Six of Pentacles, the sacred white scale bull. Now, we all know we can be stubborn in life, and in that, with the earth backing us, our stubbornness can get really out of proportion. But with Pentacles, I find it's more earthly matters, and it's more to do with gaining something materialistically rather than spiritually. And I've had a very lack of materialism. So in that, what I mean is my mum's a Taurus, right? And she's a stubborn bitch and a narcissist. I find most narcissists tend to be Tauruses anyway. No offense to Tauruses, but they're very arrogant and two-faced. But this has got the scale, and as you can see, the scale is not completely balanced. There's one up and there's one down. And I know with my 8, if she balanced the feather against you and the feather was lighter than you, your soul was heavy. But if you were lighter or equal to the feather, then you may pass on and be reincarnated or go on your spiritual journey. Now, this is like an earthly matter. This is not just talking about spiritual journeys at the thing. This is talking about yourself getting in the middle of your monetary cycle, getting into your monetary cycle, projecting love while you do it, realize there's imbalances there, and that will eventually balance out. And like, you've got the moon up ahead of him and you got the stars, so there's things that are blessing you, and the things that are coming through will be more loving in a way. Me establishing this little unit and finding a way to pay for it, even though I don't earn much money. Like, I get about $700 a fortnight, and this is $500 rent. So I got to find out a way to earn some money real quick. And I don't want to resort to what I did in the past. Now, with this, I find there's a lot of imbalances in my life, and it all had to do with my mum. And that's who I see whenever I see a bull-headed stubbornness that might get me somewhere, which I've got in myself as an Aries, but tends to be horned away by other people's actions. And so I got a visitor coming over now. Just hang on. As I said, it all had to do with my mother's treatment with me and my little self-worth. Like, when I published a book, she didn't care. She didn't tell the relatives. She didn't really wonder if I was going to be success. She knew I was going to fail at it or something. Or she projected enough energy that I thought I was going to fail myself because I just was so insecure in my own self-worth. So I think that this is me establishing myself in the spiritual world, using love to do it, establishing a home, gaining possessions, gaining a bit of an identity and a career. So maybe it's telling me to keep going with my tarot card designing, keep going with my tarot readings, keep going with my heartfelt wishes for what I want materialistically, and do things my way rather than my parents' way, because my parents' way never worked for me before. It just got me in more and more trouble. So why not look at it in this? As I was saying, my parents' way got me in more and more trouble, and the more they stamped their ground on my way of being free in my spiritualism, my way of life, the way I did things. They used to say to me, what's art going to earn you? Oh, you tarot readings, still doing them for free? Like, I've done tarot readings now for free for 22 years. Maybe 21 years. I've done them for 24 years or maybe 25 years. I haven't really counted it down. I started before my daughter was born and she's 22. So I figured about 24, 25 years I've been doing tarot readings. First for myself and then for others. I did a course, everything. But instead of supporting me and my gifts, they laughed at me and told me it'll get me nowhere. And the more I tried, the more setbacks I got. So this is a way of telling me life will balance out, karma's around, and somehow I'll get the fruit of my loins. Not my loins, my hard work, my creativity, what I build up in my womb. What people don't realize that in our uterus, it's creativity. We're creating something. When we create a child, we create them bit by bit, from eyes to nose to mouth to heart to little legs, little toes, and that all goes inside the woman's body. And as she's creating, she gets past life for information on the child. She goes through karmatic experiences of her own and her child, and then you include the father into it and everything, and it becomes a battlefield or a stable, loving environment. I didn't have that loving environment. So maybe now with this six being love, I can say I'll honestly have a loving environment in the future. I'm not too sure, but that's what I'm saying. Anyway, let's see what Goliath says about the Six of Pentacles. Another thing, I realized that my material world is not a very good foundation at the moment. There's been too many wobbles. There's been too many times where other people have influenced me. I got to the point where I didn't want to stand up for myself. I didn't want to disagree with anyone. I just wanted friends because I had nothing to cling to give me self-worth or any hope that I was a decent person, or by the time my parents had finished with me. My dad said to me, I wish you were dead, you're a waste of space, you're a selfish bitch. Every time I walked past my bedroom door or my bedroom window, he'd call me stupid woman, selfish woman, basically waste of space is the big one, drug addict, and all this other shit. And like the quote says, she self-medicates because of all the trauma in her life. And that doesn't sound like something bad, but you got to understand, this man treated me like a princess most of my life, giving me everything that I want. But the problem with him giving me stuff was he always would take it away. He would never let me keep it for long. And my mum was the instigator of taking it away. So while I might have had a gift for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or a few days, it eventually get eaten up the arse. And I had to pay dearly for every little ounce of gifts that I ever asked for. I got a bit of a princess attitude at the moment, in the past. But it wasn't really, because I used to say, don't make me a princess because you'll put me on a pedestal and then I'll fall off it and then you'll be let down. I hate it when people put too much expectations on other people. And my parents didn't actually put any expectations on me. They didn't expect anything out of me at all. From the moment I was born, I was just something that they had to deal with and they couldn't wait to get rid of, which they did this year. Anyway, let's see what Goliath has to say, because I'm very interested to. Another thing I see with Taurus being earth, right, and Pentacles being earth or materialism or the physical world, I think that all those spiritual all those spiritual achievements I have is going to finally embed itself into my physical life with love instead of this negative, compressive control and containment that I've always been led under. It's hard to explain. Like, my parents went away on a holiday, and just because I didn't speak to them for 3 days, they quit their holiday in Queensland and came flying down and chucked me in a mental hospital because I didn't answer the phone for 3 days in a row. They found me with my father and my kids, or my ex-boyfriend, and yeah, I wasn't sleeping with him again. I was just like, fuck, I only went to him because I'm like, how do I get rid of them? I just want some peace because they're shitting me and I want to assert myself individually without their influence. Anyway, that's a true story, man. And that's when I found out I was pregnant with my son, actually. And that was from a rape from my ex. As I said, I didn't want to go to my ex, but I had nowhere to go. I mean, I had my own house, but I had no one I could talk to that understood the dynamics of my family and just how evil my mum could be, or just how patronising and controlling and arrogant my father can be. Which is really weird, Lucas, Goliath, because you seemed like a totally different person with the same birth date as my father. Anyway, let's see what Goliath has to say. Sorry, I was getting you confused with my friend Lucas. He loves tarot too. Give and take of things, loss and gain, to have, not to have, financial freedom or entrapment. Well, I've been entrapped, and I am entrapped, and I'm going to get that freedom. Generosity, that's me to the boot. I'd give my last dollar to the person if I could. But there was no give and take with my parents, actually. I gave, they took. They seemingly gave, but it had a price to it. Do you know what my son and my father did? From the day I was born to my 18th birthday, he kept a ledger record on everything he spent on me and presented it to me on my 18th birthday. I still get those ledgers every month. For like 5 cents I might borrow from him, $500 I might borrow from him. I actually cleared a $44,000 debt that I didn't know how I got up to $44,000. I could understand the $15,000 for my car, but I could not understand the $44,000 that I apparently owed him. But he wiped it off, and now since 1 week, 2 weeks, I owe him $4,000 again. I still don't know how. I know he bought the fridge and he bought the fucking washing machine, and I thought it was a gift because he's the one that got rid of my last material objects. Well, it was. I will get to glass little keynotes in a minute. But what did I have to give him? I had the hope and the love of a child that wanted the approval and the necessary nurturing and foundation that she needed. I didn't want them to take my children off me. I didn't want them to adopt my son. I didn't want to do half the things that they made me do or put me through. So I find that this period with the sick is the fact that I'm not only going to receive love in the material world, I'm actually going to establish all those hard work I did with all my businesses and stuff, all my business ideas, which I managed to work very hard and start doing, are going to come to fruition once I complete what I've been doing. Anyway, Goliath. Trading of one physical form to another. That could be a death in. There could be a death in there, and I think the death is the death of the old me. I know I look nothing like what I did when I was 18. I look nothing like I did when I was in my mid-20s to late 20s. I certainly look nothing like I did in my late 30s. I did, but I didn't. Yeah, I do, but I don't. Things change. You shed your skin quite often. So maybe I got to shed the skin and stop worrying about the effect my parents had on me or will have on me, and just concentrate hard on gaining some trust in myself and some self-worth. Anyway, where did I get that? Anyway, loss and gain, to have or to not have, financial freedom or entrapment, generosity, the balance of energy, the trading of one physical form to another, transmutation, which I do a lot. I trade my astral self. I send it out in journal. And with also that death thing, or that transmutation, I think I'm transmutating or metamorphosing in this own environment that I have in this little unit where I'm learning to survive each day with a bit of fear and a bit of excitement and a bit of nervousness and a bit of happiness. And that's a lot to say to me because it's been a long, long time since I've been allowed to laugh freely, shit freely, or even talk freely. I'm not even allowed to talk to anyone in the house. It got to the point where if I talked, I got told off in big times, like, shut your mouth, just shut up, just shut up. I'm like, you stupid bitch. That was another one. I got quite often. But these are all things I had to get off my chest because this is exactly the darkness that I'm walking from. Anyway, being supported or being sponsored, I need that. I need sponsorship for my artwork, and I need a grant. Now, in that, we have, I should say, I need to be gifted or sponsored in some way or get a grant for my tarot deck because it's not just one deck, it's part one of a series of decks because it's going to be a storytelling deck. I'm basing it basically on the basic traditional tarot system, but I'll be expanding it to a storytelling system where I'll be adding in some of my artwork that are not necessarily tarot cards, but continue the story of the Emperor, the Empress, the Fool, and everything. Each one has a story to tell, like the Empress and the Emperor. How long have they been married for? Are they okay? Are they still married, or is he gone for the High Priestess? This is the shit that goes through my mind when I stare at my pictures. I think, what part do you play in my story? Anyway, I'll go back to the, getting a gift or a reward. Wow, I'd love to receive a gift without... I'll explain about my storytelling deck another day. It's a big concept that I haven't quite grasped because I've had all this other trauma in my life besides my parents, which I just can't be bothered talking about. So I'm recovering at the moment. I'm suffering a bit of exhaustion at the moment. Anyway, domination and submission. Now, I'm a very submissive person. I never used to be. Everyone used to play follow the leader with me being the leader. But lately I sort of sidestepped that role because I wasn't aware that I couldn't make decisions rationally anymore because everything I did was irrational towards the environment I was in, the people I was around, what was happening in my life. So it'll be very interesting to see just how submissive I will be in the future when I find my security, when I get my self-worth, when I get my identity back. Because I'll explain about my storytelling deck another day. It's a big concept that I haven't quite grasped because I've had all this other trauma in my life besides my parents, which I just can't be bothered talking about. So I'm recovering at the moment. I'm suffering a bit of exhaustion at the moment. Anyway, domination and submission. Now, I'm a very submissive person. I never used to be. Everyone used to play follow the leader with me being the leader. But lately I sort of sidestepped that role because I wasn't aware that I couldn't make decisions rationally anymore because everything I did was irrational towards the environment I was in, the people I was around, what was happening in my life. So it'll be very interesting to see just how submissive I will be in the future when I find my security, when I get my self-worth, when I get my identity back. Because my sacral is so out of whack, my relationships and my solar plexus. Oh my God. It's getting actually a 6-pack. It's getting a 2-pack. So it's healing. I take that as healing. Acting with authority to provide to another. Now, I was providing for my kids just fine the way I was. And I can tell you some stories about how one side of DHS thought I was the best mother on planet, and the other side of the DH listened to the one that dined with the Prime Minister and the snooty little fucking, suicide committing and yelling mother that I was. She predicted that this would happen, but she also instigated a lot of it and probably literally framed me. But that's alright. So providing for another is basically providing for my younger self or myself who is developing now. Because I got no one in my life, literally, unless I want to. Anyway, that was a little gripe on my behalf. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So providing for another, I think it's more providing for myself, my inner self, the self that is like maturing, the self that is like growing up. And I always had a very young heart or a very young attitude. Even though I'm 45, I basically act like an 18-year-old or a 22-year-old. I've got maturity, don't worry. I look at people and I think, what the fuck are you doing that for? Yeah, and then I look at myself and say, well, I'm doing this, so what the fuck am I doing it for? And that is pushing away love and everything like that. Holding estric power through knowledge. That is something I can tell you I have lots of that I want to write down. I want to write some books. I want to get the knowledge that I have and what I've experienced spiritually. Because that's the other side of the coin. You do not want to know what I experienced spiritually because it's worse. Anyway, so showing someone the ropes, acquiring what you need and taking it, the understanding of others and their paradigms, and making a wish to a higher force. I'd like to make a wish to the higher force. Like I was saying to this guy the other day, I want to sit down with my maker, my God, my Lord, my whatever, my higher power, my creator, and really have a go at him and say, you might have had a shit life. I've had a shit life, and I'm learning experiences to follow in your footsteps, to evolve like you. So why can't you give me the tools or a break or some recognition for what I've been through? Or but anyone who's been in my situation, anyone who's gone through traumatic pain, anyone who suffers depression, anxiety, or panic attacks. It got to the stage where I couldn't get out of the house for a while, and I was fearful that much. But then I was in a house that was very negative, so I was lucky to get away. Anyway, needless to say, I think that covers up all my hopes and dreams. And as I said, there's a bit of karma to this card as well. I feel that you reap what you sow. And I know I sowed a lot of shit, so hopefully I start reaping it. Now, that is what's coming to what is leaving my life. Definitely leaving my life, but still present. Because he's on the top part of the deck. He's getting introduced to me in a subtle way. As I said, this card doesn't scare me. The Master of Lies. I see my mum and dad in this card. I see everyone I've known for the past 20 years in this card. I see the devil literally playing with their minds, or them playing with the devil minds and making him go crazy so that he, feeds off others rather than feed off himself. And what I mean by feeding off yourself, feeding off your thoughts, feeding off your powers, feeding off your weaknesses, feeding off your strengths, finding out when your strengths become weaknesses, finding out when your weaknesses become strengths. I've been working on a spiritual path just to get over the environment I grew up with. I'm not kidding you, I wasn't allowed to laugh with my kids. I wasn't allowed to do anything. In the end, it got to the point where I am so worried about my autistic son that he will never ever find that gentleness or that heart that we had, or that bond that we had. I had like an amazing bond with my two children. It was just us two battling. My ex left me both times I was pregnant. He'd rock up 6 months down the track and fucking start his shit, and then I'd get a court order, get him out of my life. And he was charged with rape and molestation of my daughter, but somehow I managed to get away with it because my daughter was... For Christ's sake, my daughter was only 4.5. How the fuck did they expect her to speak to other people when she barely spoke to anyone in her life, except for me? Anyway, those were my devils. Every single one of them were a master of lies, managed to convince me that they were good people, when in actual fact, they ended up being bad, sorry tricksters. Now, the devil himself is a goat. He butts heads with you. He gives you his milk. He'll give you life force. But is that life force somehow bitter compared to cow's milk? I mean, have you ever tried goat's milk? It is very bitter. I haven't tried it, but I've heard about it. He's got a snake around him, so the serpent's there, ready for him, constantly going in his ear, like Goliath had once said in his... I watched a bit of the devil video. I haven't finished watching all the major arcanas. I haven't finished the devil either. Constantly whispering in his ear. That's what I've got. I've got someone constantly whispering. It's like all the devil armors in my world is come to fruition. They all attacked at once. And it left me very vulnerable, very exposed to the world, very mishandled, very... not too sure about people. He looks more fearful of the snake than anything else. He looks crazed. He looks insane. I just took a piss break. I was about to go to the toilet. Now, the devil, I reckon he's a character. Because you can't help but like him sometimes because he's more realistic. There's a bit of God in all of us. And no matter what we do, we're going to be devilish by nature. We're going to be a bit of a master of lies ourselves. And if we can contend that we can see ourselves in the devil, then we can certainly see ourselves in the higher power or the creator or God or the whatever you want to call it. Because I know there's a different hierarchies. There's gods, there's lords, there's the creator, and there's whatever else is above up there. But it all rolls down to there's only one or two people that govern it enough to be able to say that they're worthy of saintism. Most saints these days will fall far from the tree, I believe. But anyway, going to the book, I'm going to see what Goliath. What I was saying before, there's a bit of God and devil with us. I keep putting my hand over the microphone. I have more to say on the devil before I look at Goliath saying. Well, for starters, like, the devil represents a bit of freedom to us, but his way of going is normally the darker path. And as I said, I can't help but like him. He's more honest in his lies than some people are in their truths. And his path is not necessarily the wrong path, but it's definitely a path that is hard and it's definitely dark. And I feel whenever I look at this devil card, and I had a few experiences where he came up in a few readings lately, so I knew I was going to get him because, as I said, every reading you do for someone else is a little bit for yourself. And I got to admit, I became the master of lies for a while. As I said, I became the master of lies to myself, mainly. I told myself I was okay, and I'm not okay. The other day, I just met this chick, Wendy, and I'm in her car, and she's gone in just going to see someone, business and all the rest of it. And next thing you know, I'm bawling my eyes out in her car for no reason at all because this spiritual negative entity touches me. And whenever she touches me, it is the most grotesque, slimy, seep into your skin rape that I've ever felt. Because she touches you on the vagina that way, and she knows her touch does that to me. And I've asked her time and time again, you want to talk to me? That's fine. But don't fucking touch me because I don't like your touch. But be that as they may, she always does it. And I felt very devilish in my own nature and my reaction to her. I did not like her, and maybe I should see her more a point of view. But I also was a master of lies to myself because I lied to myself that I was okay. I lied to people that I was okay. Funnily enough, 2 spots that where I got raped recently physically, that she touched on my vagina are the 2 spots that I got burn marks or bite marks or whatever the guy did to me. I'm sorry, I was unconscious at the time when he did what he did. I just woke up with him on top of me and shit, and wondering why my lip was bleeding and my arm hurt and legs hurt and everything. Well, I found the scratches and bruises later. He was another devil in my life. So I've had a few devils. So I want to look at the devil right now and say, get your act together, man. Stop being so insane and maybe look at yourself, because I know I lied to myself and I don't think you're okay, Mr. Devil. Yeah. But if you ever look, behind the devil there's those trees, and in the trees I can see faces, I can see things peering out and lots of ways. And I feel like everyone in my past, my best friends, everyone. And as I was saying, the devil has a way of getting under his skin. You can't help but flirt with him. You can't help but not. And when I had a lot of devils in my life, I met every single person, ended up one after another taking a bit of chunk out of my spirit, chunk out of my happiness, chunk out of my ground that I just put under my feet to feel a little bit of secure in this fucking bad world. And I don't think it's just the devil's fault. I think the expectations others put on you is part of it. The expectations you put on yourself because of others is part of it. So with the devil leaving my life, I quite frankly say goodbye, but he's still around, he's still there, and I might listen to him one more time, but this time only to tell him my opinion of what I think of his actions in my life. As I said, I don't see him as a bad thing. I see him kind-hearted soul. He's just a master of lies, a trickster and stuff. And what I mean by that, under my skin and all the rest of what I said, is that basically you got to know when to pull your punches and when to stand up for yourself. And I never did. I never had anyone stand their ground. Any ground that I got, any little bit of comfort or security I got shredded pretty easily by my mum. She knew which buttons to push. She knew what to get me out of my comfort zone. And she did quite often. I don't know. I'm insane. The devil's insane, obviously, by looking the way his eyes are rolling around. You would be too if you had someone whispering how stupid and how pathetic you are, and the only thing you're good for is producing some milk or whatever it is that they think you're good for. And I don't think it's fair what my parents did to me. I don't think it's fair what anyone has done to me. But I accepted it because it's a learning experiences, and we're here to learn about hardship. We're here to see that we're strong enough. So let's look at what Goliath says about the poor old devil. I feel sorry for him. I'm looking at the card going, I feel sorry for you, because he's quite demure when I'm looking at him now. He's not as aggressive in my life as what he was before. I kind of reckon he's kind of cute. But he's not when he plays with you. Deceptions, lies, lust. Now, how can lust be bad? Greed, binding, slavery, contracts, entrapment, abuse, addiction, exploitation, materialism, excessive behavior, compulsion, lurking, control, sexual domination, primal nature, earthly possession, the holding down of others, manipulation, deceit, feeding off others, draining others of their energy to sustain oneself. Didn't I say that? A twisted mind, a lower vibrational frequencies and entities, vampiric, allowing yourself to be used, a cold world, sticking your head in the sand, overindulging in things, perversion. Now, I basically think the devil speaks for himself, and that is what I was going through in the worst way. And the only way I'm going to get this out of my life, as if I look at the positive of the way the devil affects and listen to his point of view, because you got to look at things from all different angles. And maybe I have to develop a devilish nature. Maybe he's giving me power to be a master of lies to other people, to create an illusion, like with my pseudonyms and my different names, so that I can step forth to these people and demand an apology or explain myself, why I might affect them the wrong way. Whatever it is, he's in here for a reason, and he's a part of me, and he's a part of you, and so he's like the higher power, like a creator and all that sort of stuff. They're all part of you. So anyway, I think I've talked enough about the devil. I might actually watch the devil YouTube video by Goliath later on today and see what more he says. But if we look at the next card, what's coming into my life, and it's the Six of Wands, it's another Wands, and there's another six. So there's two loves for me, where a lot of fucking emptiness beforehand. And as you can see, it's the old Goliath hive. It is busy. They're making honey. They're thriving. They're pollinating. They're bloody breeding. They're fucking doing everything they have to do. I look at this card and I go, yeah, that's where I'm going. Not only I want to go on a hermit journey, and I used to get the hermit card whenever I wanted to go on one of those journeys. I don't know where I was because I got a phone call, so it sort of threw me off. It's so busy in a hive. They're constantly working. There's workers, there's warriors, there's the queen, there's babies, there's everything that you need. And then there's that delicious honey that they make that's succulent on the tongue, and that just seeps us and just makes us all golden. I never heard the story of the birds and the bees, so I'm trying to work out what preference it is besides pollination and ejaculation sort of thing. I feel like the hive is not only will I be knuckling down and working on my tarot deck or my storytelling deck, and also the other projects I've got in mind, but I'll also be, very busy in the next few months, that I won't have time to mourn my old life. It is such a beautiful card. Everything about it is suggesting that I belong to a group of people. Do you know that bees actually communicate via telepathy, mental telepathy? And they hum their preferences and their buzzes and hums are like vocals, and they communicate from distances, great distance. No distance can actually stop them from communicating with their loved ones. And it's a real community, bees, and like you can see they're gathering on top of each other. I also think this is a card of protection as well. And creativity speaking, yeah, I've got to put more love into my artwork, because I always look at my artwork, and if I show you some of it on this side of the wall, I always look at my artwork and think it's childish or people won't understand it. That's the light of the artwork and the colours that I've done. And then most of them are my tarot decks, is going to go as my tarot deck. Although most of these are not from the tarot deck, except for the top two up there. I think that's what I got to find within myself, is that I have got lots of work to do. And this suggests that, yeah, before I end that card, because after the devil card I felt like that card's not getting much worth, I thought I'd go quickly and see what Goliath says about that card in particular. Where's wands? Come on. 6 of wands. Building up succession, public recognition, leadership, reward, accomplishment, achieving, pride, journey, success, flourishing, winning, shining, a day in the light of the beautiful sun, achieving success you have long sought after. See, this is exactly what I'm reaping and sowing. And I'm glad I got this fucking card. Pride, because pride is all I had left, and that was stripped off me. Teamwork, high spirits, and self-esteem. Feeling worthy and validated by others. No, that's something I need to do. The taste of sweet honey in your mouth. I said that as well. Overcoming and prevailing against all odds and holding my head up high. Well, kudos to me for having that card coming in my future. So it will appear in the next 3 days to 3 weeks. I'll find a different me. And I've slowly sort of found that, because I used to go out and get into situations that were worse than what I can imagine to go through while I was going through what I was going through at home. And no one could quite comprehend what I was going through until I met my parents. And I have one girl that's known me for 14 years, and she won't go near my parents. And if she sees them at the shop, she hides, because she thinks my mum's evil. And my daughter said it once. She's talking about an ex-boyfriend's girlfriend. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yeah. My daughter said about my mother, who's Jima. She was first talking about her ex-boyfriend's sister, and she said, look, she's a real bitch, but when you take away that bitch, she's basically a nice person. She goes, Jima, which is my mum, she's really evil, but when you take away that evil, there's a deeper, darker, sinister evil underneath. There's no nice person at all. There's nothing. And she thinks she's such a lovely person. And on the outset, those who are useful to her in her demise to get you to be a squashed little piece of shit like I was, she'll use whoever she can, and she'll be nice to them. And that's the only niceness you'll see. And once she's done with them, that's it. If you can't provide something or be useful to her, don't bother being in it. I realise this tarot reading's going on for ages, but I did pick a few cards for myself, because it's been a while since I've done a reading. And the last reading I did, I think I only did 4 or 5 cards. Another good sign is the 7 of Pentacles. The rewarded frog. And it speaks for itself. Now, someone else saw something different in this card. They saw the Venus entrapments and thought they were going to be vicious to the frog. But I saw first the prince, because every time I see a frog, I think of a prince and you have to kiss it, because, you know, that was one of the fairy tales I was allowed to watch or read about. But with the Venus trap flower next to it and sitting on it, he seems quite comfortable, because, like, you know, the frog's not that stupid. It's not going to sit on something that's going to snap at him. They're both after the same dinner, and the tongue is right out there. So basically reaping all the reward, working with others, getting everything that you need in life and desire and want as well. all that hard work is right around, and there's abundance around me or coming to me. The more I look at it, the frog actually looks drunk on flies, like he's had too much. So being drunk on life without the alcohol, because I don't drink. I used to, but I don't anymore. I have hardly drank. I think I had one bourbon recently and I hated it. But it was a nice effect. I thought, like, you're not an alcoholic, you've never diagnosed as it. You quit and just have one every now and then just to remember why you don't like it. Anyway, I look at this Seven of Pentacles and I go, okay, materialistic, I'm going well. I'm going to be reaping the rewards of all my hard work. And my God, you go to Moorabbin Court and they can tell you how hard I've been working. Go to Moorabbin Court and you find out how hard I was working with all the detriment of last year. Okay, attaining rewards, satisfaction, fruitful investments, being financially secure, which I'm not because I'm fucking in debt and I need funding for my tarot deck and I only earn a little bit of money, so it's going to be interesting. Enjoying the fruits of your hard labour, position yourself in good financial spot, being patient, doing what you can with what you have, making money, make more for you, reviewing what has been done, trading stock, reflection on stats, receiving a work milestone, getting great returns on your investments, acquiring things through work, blood, sweat and tears, getting in what you put out, getting a payout or payoff. I already got a payout for my car, but that money went on hotel bills when I was homeless because I had to stay somewhere, so I had to stay in a hotel for over a month before I went to... So before I went to Geelong, I basically paid for a hotel, I think $3,500 or something like that, and the rest of the money I spent on acquiring product things to make art, plaques and canvases in the spell. One of these ideas I had, and I never got to work on because I was constantly being interrupted. Charging for my tarot readings is the next rule, but a lot of people say, you shouldn't charge if you're a tarot reader. I'm like, what the fuck not? I'm giving you my energy. I'm doing all the hard work. I'm making up the video. I'm giving you a part of myself that you know nothing about because you don't want to tune into yourself because you're too goddamn scared, but you're paying me to find out insight, or you're coming to me to find out insight about your life that could be life-altering and change you in a positive way or a negative way, which way you see it. Why not give me some value to that? You don't have to give me the money. You can give me something of value, of to whatever value I put on my tarot cards, like a bargaining or a gift or a donation of that. So you can either pay cash for my readings from now on, or not you guys. You get free because you made the deck that I'm using. Or you can give me something like if I say 5-card readings are worth $85 and you get a video on YouTube. I do it all remotely. If I did it in person, I'll be charging you $250. Trust me, even if it's for a half an hour reading. Because you're withdrawing on my energy more than what you would if I'm working with you guides. If you don't want to give me the cash $85 or you don't have it, give me something of value that I appreciate and need and want, or say, yeah, I'd like that in exchange for a reading, rather than telling me, you shouldn't be charging, it's such a spiritual thing. Well, if it's so fucking easy, why don't you do it? Right? That's what I gotta say to those that are watching my video and don't know how to fucking get their psychic going. You give me something of value. The way I figure it is, I put a lot of hard work into what I used to do, and I got no retribution. Everyone took me for a ride. I've worked for telephone lines for psychics, and I've worked for a lot of things. I've done courses, I've done you name it. I studied, and I studied hard, and I worked at every bit an ounce of my spiritualism. Even though at times it didn't look like I was very spiritual or very knowledgeable, that was because of the brain injury I sustained and a lot of other things, and the trauma that has rendered me incapable of remembering things sometimes. But the way I view it is, I'm a psychic. I was born a psychic. Everyone's born a psychic. Everyone's got the opportunity to do it. Most people are fearful and skeptical of it, but there's some really gifted ones out there, and I think I'm one of them, even though I have been holding back on what I've been doing. Now, in this, I worked for psychic lines. I've worked for all sorts of things. If you're prepared to pay a psychic line $400 $4.95 per minute. Why can't you pay someone like me what I deserve to be paid for doing you a service and helping you guide you on your life? And don't tell me, no. I've got one particular client who says, don't you charge me like that. I'll give it to you when I want. And I think she gave me a value of $3 for a reading that I had 2 readings I did with her in one night. And I was quite insulted with that because she also does tarot readings and she wants me to learn from it or be guru to her. And I'm thinking, how much part of my soul are you like my cousin you're just going to take and then fuck me off later when you get into a higher place in your mind? But it doesn't matter. I roll with the punches. But the thing is, like, it's an exchange. It's a reward. And I deserve it. Now, in my experiences, I've done pub crawls where I've taken my tarot cards to the pub. I've done it in people's houses to the point where I got to the point where I was drained. I was getting attacked by negative parasites. Every time someone wanted to speak to a dead someone, I had to open up that dead door, and next thing you know, this parasite would come flying out, and next thing you know, I'm hurt, bound, and in a mental hospital. So, there's a lot of friction between what is right and what is not. Business is business. So those of you who think you shouldn't pay for tarot readers, fuck you. Seriously. Because we go to all our heart and all our soul to give you the answers to help guide you between whatever obstacle you're going through. So it does not mean that we don't have the right for some remuneration. And this is like what I'm trying to say. There's always setbacks. There's always something that, will stop you from being something, or stop you from living to your full potential. Now, I always say to people, take what you need out of my readings, leave whatever you don't understand till later. And that's why I do the videos, because later you're going to go, oh my God, you said something. Yeah, how many tarot readings I've done in the last 24 years? There's no way I could retain all that information, let alone keep it in my mind and go through my own life. And I'm an empath as well. I've got clear all, which means I've got all the clairs with clear audience in my strongest suit. Now, I don't know where I got on that tangent. I was also saying, psychics and that give you so much of themselves by opening it up to so many dimensions and realms to give you that answers. And the tarot card is great. I can do this without the tarot cards. Give myself a reading or give anyone a reading from a drop of a hat. And like the other day, I went on live and the whole intent of giving a tarot reading with the Goliath tarot deck. And I ended up just giving the girl a psychic reading without the tarot deck because it just was rambling and she needed to know. And she needed to know now. And yeah, and I don't know what happened to her. She's on my Facebook, so I'll find out one day. But hopefully I'll reap the benefit of all my rewards. I'm not going to bother going into that too dark. My next card, funnily enough, of the situation that is surrounding me and something that is actually that is unconscious in me is my shadow self. Now this is one of those cards that Goliath drew that is not of the traditional deck. It's an add-on. It's one of the shadow cards themselves. And if you look at it, you got glowing eyes peering out of a dark, dismal forest. And all I see is those roots have grown out. For some reason, the soil is eroded from the forest and the tree roots are growing out from the ground. It's almost like the person living in there or the thing that glowing eyes that are living in there could be myself, peering out at myself, looking at myself, maybe looking at my shadow self in a different light, looking at it with respect and say kudos to my shadow self for making it this far. Because my unconscious, unknown self, the self that I developed into a very... Now with this shadow card, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I'm not too scared of it. I've done my shadow work. I've done my dark path. I'm almost at a completion of it, but I've probably got a new shadow self, and this shadow self is probably quite young, quite optimistic, whereas my old shadow self was a bit like the devil himself and spoke like the devil himself. So I wouldn't be too worried when you see the darkness of this card. It's basically your unconsciousness, your subconsciousness, and your superconsciousness reflecting all the different angles you can have in life, all the different ways you can look at life, all the different ways you can appeal to yourself or appeal to nature on how to better your life. And getting to know yourself, even your deeper, darker secrets, is much better than not knowing yourself. So I'm quite happy to embrace this dark inner self of mine, my unconscious, my undivided. It's amazing how we interpret things in the way that we do. As I see the glowing eyes peering at myself, it's almost like I'm scared to look at what I've been through with rationale and objectiveness that makes me able to put it to bed, let go, and move on, and be able to feel my heart again, because I can't feel my heart. I opened up my heart center, which is different to your heart chakra, and in that, with my heart center open, I could tell whether I was in love with someone or if I didn't like someone. I could tell when someone broke my heart or when someone pleased my heart. There's all these different pains and aches and glows and warmth and tinglings that were happening. And then something terrible happened to me in 2013 to 2017, right till today, 2020. It's like, this is how long of a shadow path I've been on from 2012 onwards. And but 2013 to... in that, I'm going to read Goliath's interpretation of the shadow self. The dark swamp. Facing your shadow. Integration of all elements of your being. Understanding yourself. Choosing to see yourself in all your beauty in light and darkness. Healing your wounds. Moving forward from painful trauma. But there you go. That's what I need. Accepting feedback based on love from others. I only get hateful feedback. Coming out of the dark, laying your issues, true emotions bears, letting your barriers down and be vulnerable. Personal awakening, a challenging yet rewarding process to engage in, the seeking of resolution, the cultivating of self-awareness, improving relationships, being courageous, honest, and the stopping of emotional repression. And that's exactly what I need to do. I'm serious. It's exactly... What can I say? Goliath, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what I have to work with this beautiful depicted... I mean, his artwork is amazing. I look at my artwork, and my artwork's so psychedelic and out there, the colours, everything. But when you stare at my artwork, it's like a magic eye. It expels more than what you think. So look deeper into my artwork and look deeper into his artwork. You'll be surprised what you see. But the wolves are no longer baying, and I am going to listen to myself more often, it seems. Now, the next card I got, and it's the second last card. I'm going to laugh at the last card because I did take a peek at the last card. And I said, yeah, I am. I've been on one of those for a few times this last few months. But the second last card is the Hierophant. When I look at the Hierophant, I say he's the Master of Keys. He's the one that's going to open up the gateways. Now, he's going to open up the gateways to all the different dimensions I need to access myself and my higher self, and to get me writing, to get me working, to get me more knowledgeable. He's going to be studying me. He's a master of ceremony. Look at all his eyes. He's watching, he's gazing, he's got his eye on every little aspect of self, of worlds, of higher planes, of dimensions. He knows where it is. And the reason he's the Master of Keys is through him, you embed in yourself not only knowledge, but you celebrate that knowledge. You sing for that knowledge. You gain knowledge, and you also gain love. It's like the Hierophant is also like to do with, ceremony or weddings or something that's beautiful and loving in nature. So it'd be honestly, to see that would be amazing. I don't know if you guys can see if you can see my Hierophant up there. I've got a book for opening learning. I've got the feather. I've got key knowledge there. I've got some symbols. I've got some keys. And then, it's got a doorway that opens up to ceremonies. You got the scepter. You got The meadowlark. The meadowlark actually means ceremonies. It means singing. It means celebration. It means higher knowledge. It is getting to heights that you have not scaled before. And that's what the meadowlark. I've also got a symbol of two people getting married on the left-hand side with the love and friendship symbols, or the marriage symbol in magical writing. The eyes, they're gleaning down onto the earth below. So it's a path that you travel where you meet the Hierophant inside yourself, and you meet the Hierophant himself, that one that guides you, the one that gives you everything that you need possibly to keep going on your journey with a new light. That's what I feel anyway. I could be wrong. But, I was just saying, show my scars from when those girls beat me and shit. And all the other scars I got throughout the years. The Hierophant, we're looking at a major arcana. And being that it's a major arcana, it's basically a destiny, it's fate. Anything that's major, or on the major side of arcana, it's fate, it's destiny. You have got no control. It is going to appear in your life and teach you a lesson, whether you like it or not. And yes, if you're looking at my lip, why it's red there, it's still healing. I don't know if you can still see it. See, it's not well still. There's teeth mark in there, and that's what this guy did to me when I was unconscious and stuff. Yeah, that's nice to know you're safe in your fucking life, eh? Anyway, the Hierophant. Let's get on with that first. I'm sorry, I just noticed it myself. I don't know if you noticed that I had a fucked up lip. Okay, the Hierophant. Religion, tradition, communication, teaching, secrets, planner, faith, prophet, advisor, knowing, submission, dominant mindset, a saint, he who gives himself to the faith, a man of cloth, ceremony, spiritual counseling, a head of a religious group consciousness, a cult leader, that's funny, I want to do my own cult. A being that holds keys to knowledge and higher learning, a gatekeeper, increasing understanding and seeker of knowledge, ritual, ceremony, installation, I've been installation enough, learning, teaching, studying, heritage, sharing, worldview, organization. Let's all be there and be may. Let's look at the reverse for a minute. Mind control of others, building constructive shame, pain to control and exploit for personal gain over others. Well, that's not me, and that was what was happening to me. So, as I said, the Hierophant also means to me someone that instigates ceremonies, weddings, love, and all the rest of it. And if you think about it, it's card number 5, and 5 is freedom. That's all you have to think. Every time you think of 5, think it's freedom. Every time you think of 6, think it's love. Every time you think of 7, dial heaven. And that means you need the answers from your spiritual guides rather than go to heaven itself. Anytime you think of 8, think of totality, 9, completion, and 10 being where you're the individual now separated from God, and he's still around you, watching your baby steps walk into your new full journey where you walk alone. He's always carrying you. I don't use that word God very often because it reminds me of the word dog, and I wrote a book once called Are Dogs Gods? I've still got it. I'm thinking of publishing it because it's a funny little parody about my animals and how they thought they ruled the nest when they didn't. Now, my last card, which is the overall outcome of all of this, is I've got the power within me to take anything that I want, anything I've learned, and move forward on a new journey, a fresh page, one where I'm taking a big risk in life and living at home, living in this place where I am, in the middle of this place where I got beaten up and terrorized physically, is a bit of a risk taking, but starting a new journey by myself without pining for my kids or wanting my kids to be living with me again and looking after them in a way that they've, haven't been looked after in a few years. Getting that bond back, and that's all gone for me. I decided when I moved into this place, that's it. It's my time now. Everyone thought I was being selfish and I was taking my time, but they forced that my time. I had no choice. I had to find myself in a different way. To tell you my background, like my daughter, I was raped and molested when I was young, but I was a bit worse off than my daughter. I had to validate myself in a different way to anyone else in the world. So it's going to be good to go on that another destiny push journey, taking a risk. So I'm going to keep doing my tarot cards, I think. I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to be more assertive about people paying. I'm going to be more forthright with people, more honest, and not so much of a devil-like shifter in the sense that I never ever really speak about my feelings. Only a few people get to see my feelings, and only a few people have experienced my love, and not many ever felt it. And since my heart is now broken, and well, it's not broken, it's a broken arrow, because I've had so much pain from losing my kids. My kids were the only people that showed me love. My kids were the only ones that hugged me. That's the first hug I ever received in my life, was my kids. I was raped and molested when I was young, from like 4.5, 2 to 4.5, right through. I remember when I was 6. I remember when it happened when I was 8. I remember nothing of the gang rape except for one scene. I was gang raped at 10. I have no memories before I was 14 except for those 6 episodes. And I did a past life regression and ended up finding out that this was my first life. I had a life beforehand, but it extended to centuries where I was a spirit. I was never physically formed. And there's a story to that too. But this is my first physical life. And it's been a hard one. And maybe I ticked all the boxes that said, give me everything, give me the lot. I bet you I'll pass through it and I'll come out with flying colours and you'll be impressed with me by the end of it. Anyway, I'm welcoming this full journey. I'm going to jump off the cliff and say, I love you, Goliath. Thank you for the most brilliant deck that I've ever worked with. Now, that stuff I talked about, the gang raping, that's nothing. That's nothing. I barely remember it. So maybe it's an insight to me about how I'm going to feel about all these bad things happening to me again. When my ex died, the father of my kids, I was so relieved that I wasn't going to be stalked, I wasn't going to be raped, I wasn't going to be beaten up for no apparent reason. I was so glad that I could finally look people in the eye without him yelling at me and beating me up or putting medicine in my drink so that I clock out for 2 weeks at a time, and then he'll molest her and rape my daughter and then chuck me in a mental hospital when I sort of protest. I was so relieved. And to be beaten up and raped afterwards, that's a bit of a shock. Yeah, because I thought with him, that's it. He goes to bed, it's in the grave. He got his karma, he had cancer, and he's only 4 years older than me, and I'm 45. But even so, what's happened has happened. Now it's my new life, and I can't keep harping on other people's underhanded methods where I'm concerned. And I'm not going to start being a bitch like I did when I was 18 after all this stuff happened. And it got worse as I got older. I'm not going to go back down that path. I fell in love with this guy, and Goliath, you know who he is. And I fell in love with this guy, and it just healed me. Just like I fell in love with my son and my daughter, and that healed parts of me as well, which made me ready for this guy. And it doesn't matter that he doesn't love me back. What it is it's like I'd rather love him than not love him, sort of thing. And I'm glad for that experience and that feeling, and it makes me a happier person knowing that I love such a great man. And with all the other shit, like my ex and that, just fuck. So that's why I decided, instead of being a bitchy self or coming back with a vendetta or turning the tables on these people and getting revenge, I decided to just let it all go, bury it, and then be a nicer person again. So on top of my niceness, you'll find more niceness. You just got to scratch the surface and get past my armour. That's another thing I'm going to do. I'm going to drop all that armour that I have around me. All those bricked walls, all those iron walls. Imagine like Mad Max to get into the Mad Max headquarters. Wow. Not Mad Max, Maxwell Smart, sorry. Headquarters, like, you know, the prison going, Jew, and then you have to go through the safe. Imagine that. That's what you have to do to get near me. Just to get to know me. I haven't presented myself to the world yet, so wait till I do. And stop judging me. Not you, Goliath, but everyone else. I don't do anything to please you. I do it to make myself happy or explain myself because I have to. Anyway, that's it for my reading on the 14th of the 1st, 2020, I said to my daughter, not last Christmas, but the Christmas before, that I'm going to go through a hell of a lot more bad luck than I've been through. And it happened. And I said, but after that bad luck, there's just smooth sailing and good things coming afterwards. And I'm not saying I'm not going to go through tests or tribulations and things are not going to trip me up. But each trip up is teaching me a bit more about myself. Whatever is my strength is now my weakness, and whatever is my weakness is now my strength. And that's how I see it. If I see something strong in me, I'll find the weakness in part of it. Because we go look at everything in all different angles before we get a concept. These cards are brilliant, but they have not been looked at in any other angle but the traditional one. What about the untraditional ways of looking at tarot? Like seeing the pictures move or a story within it. Like the High Priestess is like having an affair with the trans. As I said, like the High Priestess is with the Magician, and that's my... Whoops, I'm showing you my head. Up there is my transgender witch, which is my, magician with the cat. Basically, it was a good reading. I'm very impressed with the cards, Goliath. I love playing with them. The other day, I think I did 6 readings in one night because I'm so behind in my readings. Because they're not paying me, I don't feel obligated to do it. I'll do it in my own time when I can because I'm working on my tarot deck, and that's more important to me than doing readings. But at the moment, I think I'll focus on reading. Hey, I'm actually thinking of doing a tarot line, like a phone line. I was going to do it at my parents' place, but then I realised the hassle of doing there, and my mum constantly interrupting whenever I was in the middle of a reading. She did say she wanted a reading, but I got a feeling if I did a reading for her, I'll walk away scarred more than I've ever been scarred before, because I see right into her evilness. And I've never looked before. I've seen it, I've heard it, I've felt it, but I've never looked too deeply at my parents. I don't know them at all. I know bits of them, but I don't know them at all. I even wonder if they really are my real parents, to tell you the truth, because there's rumours going around when I was young that I was adopted or fucking kidnapped or something. Something about my mum having a stillborn, going a bit crazy and kidnapping me and keeping me, and no one knew what to do about it in the family. They just let her get away with it. Anyway, be an interesting story, hey? If I found out the truth, but my parents are vindictive enough to make me believe that I had parents that hate me rather than some parents out there that might have loved me if they had a chance to get to know me. But that's my folks for you. So thank you, Goliath, for making this wonderful shadow deck. I am absolutely amazed by it. I might be buying the 2nd edition if I can afford it. I'm not too sure yet. And thank you, everyone who's watched this. Bye-bye. Well, thank you, Goliath, and thank you those that are watching or have decided they want a reading from me. Please contact me on my various social media sites. And be blessed, cards. My cards have finally got a name for themselves, but they weren't telling me. They were tripping over infinity, unity, and a name I would give them. I've yet to give them a name. And so far they've just chosen Goliath. So if you feel, Goliath, that your name Goliath is leaving you again, I wouldn't be surprised, because your tarot card's taking the power of that name, because you've evolved into something else. And if that picture of you that you put on your normal Facebook is you right now, hot damn, wow. There's a reason why we look the way we do, I suppose. Enticing.